I feel it's the light at the end of the tunnel.
A major turning point more than 9 months into this pandemic.
Oh, I'm so excited.
The coronavirus vaccine is here, and the first Coloradan to get the shot shares his story on this historic day.
Plus, more shipments are on the way.
With anticipation that we will have all of our 5,755 vaccines administered by Friday night.
Local hospitals walk us through their plan to get the vaccine to frontline workers.
It's a really interesting process around the COVID-19 vaccine.
And as Moderna awaits approval of its COVID-19 vaccine, new details on how many of those doses are expected to come in and when we could see them here in Colorado.
And we will get to those vaccine updates in just a moment. First tonight, another burst of snow making its way across the Front Range, and it is chilly out there. You will likely wake up to temperatures in the teens.
Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson tops us off tonight with this Denver7 weather action day. Mike?
Good evening. It's not a major storm, but it's a cold one out there. The current temperatures have fallen to the low to mid-20s for the metro area. Teens up in the mountains, and the bands of snow are gradually increasing. Snow covering the ground looking at the state capitol and looking down Broadway. And as far as weather conditions over the last couple of hours, you see the main snow over the metro area and farther to the east. That's the key. This storm is mostly going to be on the south and east side of the metro area. Much lighter conditions up toward the Fort Collins area and Greeley, and heavier snow is actually down over southeastern Colorado. Winter weather advisories in effect. It's not a lot, but it's enough to cause problems for early tomorrow morning. Light snow, an inch or two overnight. There'll be some slick roads for early Tuesday morning. Skies will clear, but it stays cold on Tuesday, and there's a chance of some more snow later this week. I'll have the details on how much to expect in your neighborhood coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Mike. Now, 2.9 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine are still making their way to every corner of the country. Here in Colorado, the state lab received 975 doses via FedEx this morning, and the governor was proud to sign off on the package.
And it wasn't long until those doses were administered to healthcare workers all over the state. 133 of that 975 doses were administered today. The governor is urging hospitals to administer their share of the doses within the first 72 hours of receiving them. As for the rest of the 46,000 vaccines, well, deliveries will continue to arrive in Colorado tomorrow and Wednesday.
More than 20 sites are still waiting on their share of the doses. The first round only going to healthcare workers who have direct contact with COVID patients and those in long-term care facilities. Could be months before the rest of us get vaccinated.
So how are these hospitals preparing to get those vaccines to the frontline workers? Our Gary Brode has the answers, and we'll check in with Gary in just a moment.
First to Denver7's Eddie Guajardo, who spoke with a respiratory therapist, the first in Colorado to receive the vaccine. And Eddie, he says this has been a long time coming.
Day after day, Kevin LONDRIGAN checks in on patients at UC Health Medical Center of the Rockies.
I'm a respiratory therapist.
He estimates 95% of his patients have COVID-19.
We're in their rooms probably 10 hours out of a 12-hour day.
Every day he exposes himself to the virus that could threaten his life due to his underlying health conditions.
I have diabetes, my age, my weight.
Show me where to sign.
Worries eased by the delivery of the Pfizer vaccine Monday.
This little purple vial is going to save hundreds of thousands of lives. Very first. Oh, I'm so excited.
It's why all eyes and lenses focused in on Kevin. He became the first Coloradan to receive the vaccine at UC Health Poudre Valley Hospital.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yay!
When asked how he felt,
I'm feeling great.
a feeling breathing a sense of hope and security.
Co-workers will feel safer that they've gotten the vaccine. I feel safer about coming home to my family at night after having this vaccine.
It's a giant step in the world of healthcare, but a long road lies ahead.
We're still going to have to wear masks and do the social distancing, all just common sense.
Kevin is one of dozens to receive the vaccine on the first day it arrived in Colorado. They will all have to come back in 21 days for that second part of the vaccine. In Fort Collins, Eddie Guajardo, Denver 7.
And a New York nurse was likely the first in the nation to receive the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Sandra Lindsay is a critical care nurse at New York's Long Island Jewish Medical Center. She says she'd been waiting for this day forever, saying she has seen the pain, the suffering, and the lives lost while working the front lines. A total of 145 sites receive vaccine today across the nation. Another 425 are set to get doses tomorrow, another 66 on Wednesday. And the vaccine kits come with syringes, alcohol swabs, a solution to dilute the vaccine, and safety gear. Pfizer is expected to deliver 100 million doses of their vaccine by the middle of next year. Moderna is pledging 200 million doses. Long-term care facilities are expected to begin vaccinations next Monday.
And not every hospital received its share of the doses today. Hospitals are still putting plans in place to get ready to distribute the vaccines once their allotted doses arrive in Colorado.
Centura Health is one of those providers getting their shipment of vaccine tomorrow. Denver7's Gary Bro talked to their chief clinical officer on their distribution plan.
By noon Tuesday, Centura Health officials expect to have the vaccine in hand, and by Wednesday, we'll start giving the shot out to their employees, with anticipation that all 5,755 vaccines will be administered by Friday.
We are looking at a momentous day in history.
Centura Health employees are waiting in anticipation for the Pfizer vaccine to arrive.
I'm going to use your shoulder here and give you the vaccine.
This is video from Centura Health. The shot being given is a saline substitute meant to show what the 7-step process will look like.
Good morning. You're here for your vaccine.
Starting with workers providing identification and ending with the patient waiting 15 minutes post-vaccine in the case of an allergic reaction. Centura Health's chief clinical officer, Shauna Gully, says most will experience a mild reaction similar to an influenza vaccine.
We know that people that receive these vaccines in the first 72 hours can experience low-grade headaches, low-grade temperature elevation, muscle aches and pains, and maybe some feelings of fatigue. They should not have full symptoms of COVID-19, however.
Dr. Gully says all 15 Centura hospitals statewide are equipped with the proper coolers and will administer the first round of vaccines and likely the second wave as well.
We have identified healthcare workers who have the greatest exposure to patients with COVID-19 or COVID-19 products to be in our first grouping for receiving the vaccine.
Gully says the initial vaccination phase will be given only at a hospital, but when we move into the community phases and when it's time for those at high risk to get their shots, it's not clear how things will be handled. The Colorado State Joint Information Center says individual vaccine providers, in consultation with their local public health agencies, will need to use their best judgment about which patients may be eligible for vaccination during each of the phases. And going on to say, when the vaccine is more widely available, it is also likely to be available at pharmacies. In Centennial, Gary Brode, Denver 7.
Colorado is also expected to get more than 95,000 doses of the Moderna vaccine once approved. Like the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna's vaccine requires 2 doses. And for this one, those doses are 4 weeks apart. And the FDA is reviewing that vaccine this week. A committee will meet on Thursday, and if approved, about 6 million doses could be distributed to states across the nation by the end of the week. And here in Colorado, we know about 150 sites are slated to get that vaccine. Children's Hospital Colorado will receive the most doses, around 6,300, followed by University of Colorado Hospital in Aurora with 6,000, Denver Health with 5,600, and UC Health Poudre Valley Hospital around 4,000. And we know so many of you have questions about this vaccine, and that's why we're hosting a town hall tomorrow night to answer your questions. I will be the moderator, joined by a panel of experts, including Governor Jared Polis, and the town hall starts at 6:30 right here on Denver 7 and, of course, on your streaming device of choice. So if you have a question or you have concerns, email us right away, 360@thedenverchannel.com.
Now, despite the positive news of the vaccine, hospitals tonight are still overwhelmed by COVID patients, and people are still dying from it. And a grim milestone, in fact, in the U.S. today. The death toll has now passed 300,000. The CDC director warns we could reach 450,000 deaths before February 1st. Here in Colorado, another 74 Coloradans lost their lives to the virus in the last 24 hours. And we can finally report, though, this is good. We have a case number below 3,000 for the day. And today's number, it's better, still too high. And 1 in 40 Coloradans is still contagious with the virus right now.
Pitkin County's new crackdown on the coronavirus is now in effect starting today. All visitors are required to sign an affidavit saying you have either tested negative within 72 hours of travel or you will quarantine upon arrival for 14 days. You'll also have to sign certifying that you've been symptom-free for 10 days before traveling. Keep in mind, Aspen's 4 ski areas are in Pitkin County, so that means skiers have to abide by these new rules.
Inmates at the El Paso County Jail are suing the sheriff. The ACLU says the jail put inmates at risk by not providing masks and not properly protecting them from COVID-19. The El Paso County Jail had one of the largest outbreaks in our state last month, more than 900 inmates infected in a 1,200-person facility. The lawsuits allege that the inmates were not given masks until November and were punished, it says, for trying to make their own.
Today, electors in all 50 states met to submit their certified votes to the Electoral College, confirming Joe Biden as the next president of the United States. These ceremonies are mere formalities. Biden received a total of 306 electoral votes to President Trump's 232 votes. And tonight, the president-elect addressed the nation, saying he knows we have hard work ahead, including getting this pandemic under control.
You know, in this battle for the soul of America, democracy prevailed. We, the people, voted. Faith in our institutions held. The integrity of our elections remains intact. And now it's time to turn the page, as we've done throughout our history, to unite, to heal.
Congress will now have to certify the Electoral College vote on January 6th, Inauguration Day, set for January 20th. We also learned today that Attorney General William Barr resigned. In the last few days, Trump has been critical of Barr not announcing a federal investigation into the business dealings of Joe Biden's son Hunter before the election.
Like everybody else that I've talked to, all of us are underinsured.
A small gesture taking a big burden off this wildfire victim's plate.
Well, thank you so very much. It'll help out a lot.
Tonight, your donations continue to help those in need. As we circle back with one family, still working to rebuild more than a month later.
It's been tough because you've lost everything.